Step right up, dummies, and listen to the stupidest sports show on earth with Rodney Newpol and Tim Van Stratton. Well, hello there, dummies. Welcome to episode number 28 of the stupidest sports show on earth. My name, of course, as you all know, is Tim Sid the Kid Van Stratton. With me is Rodney Newpol. No primetime prediction yesterday. I don't even know who you liked for the Lions-Packers game. We might have talked about it on Monday or on Tuesday. I can't even remember. But good to see that you're joining me from your back alley, your well-lit back alley on this Friday morning.
I don't know as if I liked anybody last night, to be honest with you. Didn't have a big bet on it. Tried to throw a little small parlay. It didn't quite work. Although I got a portion of it with the Josh Jacobs 2+ touchdowns. Did not get my Sam Laporta portion of it, and the game definitely did not go under. So that did not work out for me. I was pulling a rabbit out of a hat, and it didn't work. But I liked the game last night. Didn't have a feel either way. I probably would have sided with the Lions, to be quite honest with you. And the 3.5 would have just really irritated me. So glad I stayed away last night.
Yeah, it was teetering between 3 and 3.5, depending on where you looked. Because I was looking at all the books yesterday, and pretty much half of them had 3, half of them at 3.5. But like, if you wanted Lions at 3, it would have been minus 120 or something like that. But then 3.5, you get them at plus money. So if you really like the Lions, you probably just would have done that, and then you'd be a loser today. But yeah, it was a fun game, and we're going to talk plenty about it, as well as the remaining NFL Week 14 schedule, lots of college football talk. A reminder that you can follow us at Stupid Sports Show on Twitter, and get Rodney's picks on Substack. I try to contribute. I've dropped the ball the last few days, and that's probably for the best, in all honesty. But Rodney is delivering bangers, daily winners, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's just start with Packers Lions here. Let's just start at the end. Man, Campbell's an insane person, right?
He's insane, yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure that was the greatest NFL move last night. Obviously, he's gonna get credit for it. Not sure the greatest move. We tried this with Brandon Staley. We tried the same moves with Brandon Staley, going forward on 4th down and shit like that. Man, if this is a playoff game and it cost him doing this,
you mean like it did in the NFC Championship game, where there were at least 2, maybe 3 4th downs that they went for against San Francisco, didn't get, and it almost single-handedly allowed the Niners to come back in the second half and win that game?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I don't know, man. Going for it when he had a pretty easy field goal anyway, maybe 40 yards, going for it to save those final 40 seconds. I mean, and he was so close to Jared Goff just face planting on the ground and having no opportunity to even get that yardage. And I mean, okay, he got it. They won. Great. But man, I mean, the guy's got big old kahunas. He obviously does. But man, I don't know if I agree with the move there. They did win the game, and I side on aggressive coaching. I love aggressive coaching, and I hate wimpy field goals, but that was borderline insane last night.
It was. I was watching the game with Amber, and I was like, "Oh, please just tell me they're gonna kick." Like, I was begging him to kick, and then Al Michaels. It looks like the offense is staying on the field, and I'm like, "Oh God." And then you see Goff trip, and I had to actually think through it for a second and remember that this isn't college football, because I was like, oh God, Goff's knee's down. But then I was like, wait a minute, that's okay in the NFL, because his knee's down as he's handing the ball off to Montgomery. I mean, could you imagine if he falls more and the defense is able to just get a single finger on him and then the play's blown dead there? I mean, that would have been one of the all-time gaffes in recent memory.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, obviously the game likely would have moved to overtime, and who knows what would have happened at that point. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, he went for it numerous times on 4th down. Even the one before that they didn't get to give the Packers the ball was questionable at best, and I don't know, man. You do it too many times, it's going to burn you. There's a fine line to me between like insanity and aggressive coaching. Last night seemed a little insanity. But they won, and here we are. Lions have won 11 in a row.
Well, here's the positive of it. You have a coach that doesn't delve away from his game plan and his guns, and like he knows how he wants to coach, and the game isn't going to change that. Like it's not like, oh, this is a playoff game, or oh, this is a really important game to clinch a playoff spot against a division rival. Suddenly I'm gonna go against everything that has been working for us the last 2.5 seasons, and now I'm just gonna coach scared. He doesn't do that, and you have to respect that. You can hate it, but you can respect it. And that's kind of how I felt yesterday. They were 4 or 5 on 4th down, by the way. So it's not like they go for it and they just suck at it. They're great at converting on these 4th downs. The only one they didn't get was the one that I know you were talking about, where they were on their own 30-yard line.
Right.
It's 1. They do that pitch to Gibbs. It gets blown up. Packers then immediately turn it around and score, take the lead. That one you probably, in hindsight, would want to kick the other way. But again, it's like, it's a yard, and this is the best offense in football. You have the best running back tandem in football. You got a line that's great. Like, if you need to get a yard, you can get a yard. And so I understand the thought process there.
Yeah.
I really do, even though I probably wouldn't have done it because I'm a wuss, but like, I get it.
Yeah, no, and not giving Jordan Love any opportunity to get the ball back is obviously, game ending. I get it, but man, like you said, couple things could have gone wrong, and then you've definitely got egg on your face, and and I guess for them, like, okay, they still have a huge divisional lead. It wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I guess I'm a little bit worried. He does that in the playoffs. Well, they don't get that yard. The other team goes 30 yards, kicks a field goal, game over, and man Campbell then it becomes not so much of a hero in Detroit.
Well, you know what it is as well? I think it's trust that even if they don't get it, even if Green Bay turns around and scores, it's that they're going to be able to answer. And they did. They have. And pretty much every time Green Bay was able to get on the board, the Lions just reciprocated and got on the board right away. The only time that didn't happen was the interception, the Goff interception. Other than that, like, he trusts that they're going to go out and they're going to be able to make it happen, whether it's with Gibbs, whether it's, hey, Goff, throw the ball. Let's find St. Brown. Let's find Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick yesterday, 6 catches, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Twice, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sam Laporta was pretty quiet. St. Brown was really quiet in that game. Yeah. I wouldn't say
they had 6 guys catch between 5 and 6 passes. Yeah. So like the almost perfect distribution between 6 guys yesterday on the field. No one exploded, but no one just like was irrelevant.
That's what's kind of irritating to me about playing them in DFS daily formats is, like, you can play Lions, but they're not guaranteed to hit. They're certain. Yeah. I mean, and your Lions may score 42 points, but if you don't have the 2 or 3 guys, or they spread it among 6 guys, then yeah, it's a problem. And I don't even think Gibbs had that great of a game last night.
No, 15 carries, 43 yards. Yeah. So he didn't really do much on the run game, but he did have 6 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. So right. I mean, if you're in a PPR league, it's still great.
Yeah, and even Montgomery really didn't have that great of a game. It looked like him early on was going to be, the guy with that early touchdown. He got stuff later in the game where he could have had his times too. But yeah, I mean, while they didn't have great games, they still are like, oh, that's okay. Good night for Montgomery. Good night for Gibbs. Good night for Laporta. But no great nights outside of random Tim Patrick. Yeah. Okay. Like, where'd he come from?
And then on the other side, like, Christian Watson obviously was the standout. The 4 catches, 114 yards. I say that because Jacobs had 3 touchdowns. That's huge. But 18 carries, 66 yards. He came into that game averaging, I want to say, 81 or 82 yards a game. So it's not like, Josh Jacobs totally exploded. No, he was good. They gave him the ball a lot. He only averaged 3.5 yards a carry, and he found the end zone. And they went to him. It worked out to where, within 5 yards, hey, we're just going to hand the ball off to Jacobs, and it worked.
Yeah.
But so there wasn't, besides Christian Watson, maybe Jameson Williams. Like no player that had like a wow eye-popping stat line yesterday.
Right. Two things from Green Bay side. Number one, real quickly, Jaden Reed, absolute goose egg last night. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the funny thing is about 7 o'clock, I had somebody, want some fantasy advice. I told them I thought they should put Jaden Reed in the lineup. Hey guys, I host a Sunday show every Sunday, 1011 ESPN out of Peoria. If you want more fantasy advice, tune in. Yeah, I was like, I think you got to play Jaden Reed with no Dobbs. I think it's a great spot. He had 5 guys. Jameson Williams and Jaden Reed were part of his package. I think it was like DJ Moore was in there. He had 2 other guys, and the other guys were going to play Sunday. And I was like,
it was Jaden Reed over all those guys.
Well, we chose because he's got 2 more coming up on Sunday. I don't even remember. And no, DJ Moore was one. Puka, I think, was one. It was somebody else, but it was close. And we talked it out. Like he's like, yeah, I kind of like that idea too. We actually set Jameson Williams in this case because it's like, hey, listen, he's a very high floor, could be a very low ceiling type player. I think Jaden Reed's going to be in great shape. Jaden Reed didn't go in great shape. And then the other hot take I have, hear me out here. Josh Jacobs, top 5 running back in the NFL this year.
I mean, statistically, yeah, I don't think that can be disputed. He was
so
third in the league in rushing yards coming in.
Yeah, so we're looking at like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, obviously in a tier themselves, 1A, 1B, however you want to stack it up. Those 2 are the top 2 running backs.
Sure.
And then it's Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, question mark. Who's our 5 here?
Jalen Hurts.
A quarterback at running back. But like, who is our 5th running back? Because I think do you have a 5th?
So if we go by the advanced metric of well, I was going to say, so if we go by the advanced metric known as rushing yards, right now the top 5 in the NFL is Barkley, Henry, Jacobs. Makes sense. Followed by Jahmyr Gibbs, who just crossed. So Jahmyr Gibbs just crossed into the 1,000-yard rushing yesterday, despite having only 178 attempts. For perspective, Josh Jacobs has about 60 more attempts, but only like 35 more yards.
Yeah.
For perspective. And then Kyron Williams is at 5 right now. And then you have Chuba Hubbard, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor. I know you're a big Jonathan Taylor person. Talent-wise, maybe Jonathan Taylor's still there, but like, he's 13th in the league in rushing right now. So you can't really say like this year. So yeah, I would probably say, Barkley, Henry, Jacobs, probably have to put Jahmyr Gibbs there because Jahmyr Gibbs was getting the amount of run that the other guys were getting. He would be probably closer to Henry than he is to Jacobs.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, Mixon, I guess this year, just because of these tons of touchdowns and just has been a real bell cow for him.
Yeah, let's look at some of the comments here. Dan has some good choices here. Bijan, Gibbs, James Conner. I always forget about James Conner. James Conner's never a name I mention when it comes to the top running backs, and
I never will.
He's not. I just don't mention him. I don't mention.
No, he's very good. But if we're talking top 5 running backs, I don't think anyone would take him as a top 5 running back. But he's very good, and I'm with you. I'll never play him on Sunday in DraftKings, and I was like, oh, that's great. He had another 20 points because he had 80 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, the Chuba missile crisis. Yeah, I mean Chuba Hubbard's been really good for Carolina. Thank God, because Miles Sanders was not.
What's fun about Carolina too is that they drafted Jonathan Brooks in the 2nd round, and I think they envisioned him sort of being the starter, but then he was hurt, so they had to rely on Chuba. And I mean, he's going to end up with a career best year this year. They just extended him mid-season, so maybe they'll go with like what Detroit's doing and just split Chuba and Brooks next year. Yeah,
which obviously hurts the fantasy value a little bit, but I am curious to see how Brooks will handle a solid load in the backfield for them. Mm-hmm. And then one more comment I wanted to get to when we get back to that Packers. Dan's got this right on Christian Watson.
Yeah.
He's going to do those things, make a ridiculous catch, jaw goes to the floor, and then the boneheaded thing. He turned it over once, and he had the offensive pass interference penalty. So, yeah, I mean, that's the Packers for you. I just can't trust the Packers. I know they've been better than I've made them be. I still just can't trust them. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about the Packers, and it's not necessarily a hate for the Green Bay Packers, because honestly, that's the one place I'd like to go see a game the most right now is Green Bay.
Yeah.
I just can't fathom being out in the cold. But anyways, I just can't trust them. I don't know what it is about the Packers. But Christian Watson, bonehead play. Jaden Reed, 0 points.
Yeah, it makes you think about what that team would look like if they didn't have Josh Jacobs too. Because I mean, he's been such a huge part of their offense. Jordan Love obviously missed some time for them, and Jordan Love. It strikes me as a very high ceiling, low floor type of quarterback at this point in his career. Maybe that changes. This is only his second full year as a starter, so he's still on the inexperienced side, if you want to look at it, even though he's been in the league now for quite some time. But yeah, their receivers, like they have a lot of really solid receivers, but none of them are great. And Jaden Reed, who a lot of people viewed as kind of their top guy, if he has 0 catches in a huge game like that, that's a problem. Like Christian Watson, I think Dan nailed it on the head. He's capable of having those monster plays, but he'll have drops that just are baffling. He'll have those like OPIs that are baffling, and it kills you. And then it's like Wicks and Dobbs and like, I don't know.
So before we move on from this, let me address the Packers real quick and ask you, system play says bet against the Packers next week. Now, they just played Thursday night. They play Sunday night next week. So you've got a little break. That always puts a little asterisk on the system. And they're at the Seahawks.
Yeah, which is tough. 12th man. Yeah.
It is tough. I'm gonna go with the system play. I will take Seattle, just like I am taking the 49ers this week over the Bears. But that's another one of those system plays where you start scratching your head a little bit like, are we sure this one's going to work? Yeah. So real quick, Packers at Seattle next Sunday night.
Yeah, I want to see the how the Bears do against the 49ers, having those extra couple days of rest, because they're also coming off the Thursday game now into Sunday. So that will maybe inform my decision a little bit more on that Packers-Seahawks game to see how the extra couple days affects the kneecaps and such. But I mean, honestly, in general, a game at Seattle, that's tough. Like that's a tough draw for them this time of year, especially with the Seahawks trying to fight and win a division themselves. Yeah, I would probably lean Seattle right now, but want to see how the Bears handle it first. And then so after that, Green Bay then, as I believe it's a Monday night game, hosting the Saints.
Yeah.
So they got 3. So they had 3 straight primetime games with or 4.
Yeah.
4. Yeah. Dolphins, Lions, Seahawks, Saints, all primetime. And then they end the year at Minnesota, then hosting the Bears, which that'll be a win.
So the Lions had the big game against the Bills coming up. And so that begs the question in week 16, do we dare play the system as the New England Patriots at Buffalo in week 16? That's probably that's probably where you just take the Patriots to cover, right? Like you can't take a money line.
I mean the spread's going to be
10.5.
Spread's going to be like 12.5 there. Yeah, and I'll take New England to cover, but I won't feel good about it. I'll just do it purely because of system. But my God, man. Yeah, I can't in good conscience. Why does it feel like half of these system plays now, ever since we started doing it, have been like Patriots games?
Yeah.
Why do the Patriots all of the post Lions opponents to force us to bet on the Patriots? And it hasn't worked. You haven't won any of them.
The system may need a slight adjustment on how it works. I still think you're okay taking them to cover. Be careful on any money line bets for sure.
Well, the teams, okay, so that's the thing. Like if we go back and look at all the system plays, and I can't remember exactly, but like all of the teams that beat the other teams coming off of a loss to the Lions, like all those teams are good, like they're fine, but like we keep running into it's against the Patriots, against the Titans, against the Cowboys, like all these like dog shit teams, and like at some point, man, we have to realize that you could still beat crappy teams without kneecaps.
Yeah, basically is what happening. Yeah, the system needs a readjustment. So the schedule makers really need to help us out next year with the system. As soon as that schedule comes out, we can start hammering out some plays. A couple more comments here. Dan, thanks for joining us again. Buffalo is due for one clunker game to get exposed before the playoffs. Everybody gets one. It's not a bad point. It's not a bad point. It will happen. Buffalo will struggle at some point, maybe even lose a game. Not sure. I mean, obviously, they still are trying to push to catch Kansas City for that 1 seed so they can play in 30 feet of snow in January instead of Kansas City. And he's also writing Bills-Lions for a Super Bowl matchup, though. So that brings a good point. We can talk about that real quick. He's Bills-Lions. I'm Bills-Eagles. We're going to be rivals in January, Dan, as Eagles-Lions matchup.
And I'm Lions, Bengals, but Bengals. I have the Lions. So we're all kind of I mean, we discussed this on Tuesday. I don't know if Dan was there or anyone watching was able to catch it, but Rodney and I pretty much went through the NFL postseason bracket, and we determined that there is a 0% chance. I think we're ready to declare a 0% chance that the conference championships will be anything but Eagles-Lions and Bills-Chiefs. The only thing is the game going to be in Philadelphia or Detroit? Is the game going to be in Kansas City or Buffalo? That's the only thing that I would like have to think about, and that's the only thing up for grabs. But and this maybe is stupid, and this probably won't age well, but I see no way that it's anything besides those 4 teams playing on Championship Sunday.
Yeah, and I think I threw out that Baltimore still kind of gives me a little bit of scare, but they just are way too inconsistent and not sure they can go win 3 games to get to the Super Bowl because they're not going to win their division at this point. No. And so, yeah, Baltimore is really the only scary opportunity. I just don't. And then we kind of threw out what can the Rams do to upset that? Not that the Rams can get to the Super Bowl, but can they knock off one of those teams?
You're asking a lot from the Rams, though, and I think the Rams have a pretty tough end to their schedule. So they're sitting at 6-6 right now, right?
Yeah.
So they have the Bills this week. Then they got the 49ers next week, which is a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Then they go at the Jets, which, like, okay, the Jets are the Jets, but you have to go cross country now to face the Jets. Then you're at home, but it's against the Cardinals, against the Seahawks. Like, that's four like pretty decent matchups. 3 of them are in the division, and then a road game that's all the way on the other side of the country. That's kind of hard for a team that's 6-6, and asking them, make it in, and then also make noise in the playoffs while you're there.
Yeah, I mean, they could be 6-11. They could lose all 5 of those games. I think of the Rams as that team that played that clunker on Monday night against the Dolphins. They lost 23-15 and did not get in the end zone. I see them as that team as opposed to the team that, beat the Vikings in week 5 or whatever it was, 30-20. So yeah, you're right. But I guess that's the one team in the NFC that like maybe could upset one of those teams. Outside of that, I don't. But we also mentioned one guy in the NFC beat the Lions and the Eagles, and that's Baker Mayfield. So be careful about him.
I think the Bucks scare me more than the Rams do at this point.
Yeah.
While acknowledging that McVay is still, I still consider him to be one of the elite coaches in the NFL. And if you have Stafford, if you have Kupp, Puka, things can happen. But yeah, Baker has that juice, and Tampa Bay just hangs with everyone. But I was looking at the Rams real quick. So all their wins, their 6 losses have come against the Lions, Cardinals, Bears, Packers, Dolphins, Eagles, mostly pretty good teams. So their wins, 49ers, which by 3, beat the Raiders only by 5, beat the Vikings by 10. That was that Thursday night game. which that was the Vikings coming off of a game to Detroit, so that was a system play.
Correct.
Seahawks by 6. I think that was over. That was an overtime game. Patriots, they won by 6, and then Saints, they won by 7. Like, they don't really blow out teams, and they've kind of like a lot of like iffy teams that they beat. So it's not like a team that's they're so elite still. All the metrics say this is a great team, but like their record just isn't good. Like they are the perfect 6-6 team.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Tampa probably is the scary team there because they are going to get if they can surpass Atlanta, they will host that first round game. But that would mean Tampa would have to go to Detroit in January or to Philadelphia in January, and I don't know about that one. I don't know there. That seems a little daunting to me. Yeah, it seems pretty daunting for Buccaneers. So yes, we're looking at Lions Eagles. We're looking at Chiefs Bills. Match it up January 20th or whatever it is. Let's do it.
I think that's what America wants, right? I don't want to speak for America in this instance. That said, I don't know why football fans who don't actually have a team in the race would want like the Steelers in there or like the Chargers. Like I don't like if the Chargers pull off an upset and then it's Chargers Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I know it's a division rivalry, but I'll be massively disappointed because the Chargers have a 0% chance to win that game.
0. Yep. I'm with you. One more comment on the comment line. Will the Falcons get a vintage Kirk Cousins performance in his return to Minnesota this week? I'll tell you what. Back to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. He better, because I'm going to go on the record again. If Kirk Cousins cannot have a good performance and the Falcons lose this game, this will be the last start he makes for the 2024 regular season.
That's bold because week 15, the Falcons are Monday Night Football at the Raiders. You're not telling me the Falcons head coach is going to say, you know what, Kirk, we're not starting you for Monday Night Football. This is Captain Kirk on Monday Night Football. Nope, he's starting week 16 at the Raiders.
It's the exact perfect time to do it, Rodney, because you not only do you have that extra day of preparation, but you also are facing one of the worst teams in the NFL. Possibly the worst team in the NFL. It is a great opportunity to ease your quarterback in. Listen. Let's all go back to draft night for a second, where we were stunned that the Falcons, after a few weeks after giving Kirk Cousins this massive 4-year contract, took Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall. Right? A team that does that doesn't have intentions of just watching that quarterback rot on the bench. They did that because in the event that Kirk Cousins wasn't the answer, they had their guy right then and there, who's an older prospect who isn't as raw as maybe some of the other draft prospects in his same class. I'm just saying this game could be the final chance that Kirk Cousins has to lead the Falcons for the remainder of this year. Because I truly wouldn't be shocked if they turn to Michael Penix for week 16 and week 15 then?
15. I just don't. The Falcons head coach does not have the balls to sit Kirk Cousins in that game. He just doesn't. And so then after the Vikings, the Falcons have the Raiders, your Giants, the Commanders, and the Panthers.
Sounds like a good
bad football. So you're saying they want to hype Penix up? They're going to give him this soft landing and say, "Look at him. He went 3-1 in his final 4 games. They lost to the Commanders, but they won 3 of the final 4." I don't see it. Kirk Cousins. That's right. Kirk Cousins is starting the rest of the way out. I don't.
So you think if Kirk Cousins throws another 3 interceptions and they lose, you think that his job is safe? That's totally fine? He's been awful.
He will start Monday Night Football December 16th at the Raiders. He is not sitting. They are not benching him on Monday Night Football against the Raiders. It's not happening. Now
he struggles like it's Monday Night Football. Who cares, man? We're all going to watch anyway. You think that the league is going to put in a call to Atlanta and be like, "How dare you? You cannot think about sitting Kirk Cousins on Monday night. Think of the Raiders." No, dude. If anything, I think people will be more excited to see the debut of a first-round rookie quarterback.
Kirk Cousins cares about Monday Night Football, and I don't think the Falcons head coach has enough balls to sit him.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no,
we can agree to disagree. And I didn't say for sure. I said if he stinks it up again against Minnesota,
yeah,
which is possible.
It is
which is
possible.
possible. And you know what the funny thing is, the way that it's going right now, because this is another thing that I'm sure the coach is factoring in. If the Falcons get the 4 seed, and because they win the division, there's a very good chance that the 5 seed's Minnesota, just based on where the wild card standings are. So that's a rematch. So it's like, do we really want to have Kirk go again, look bad again, or throw a new quarterback that teams don't have a lot of tape on? Just saying.
They don't have any tape on. The dude hasn't seen the field. I don't think.
Well, that's good. That's usually what helps though when defenses don't really have tape on you except your college tape. Throw a bunch of surprises at them. I'm just throwing it out there, man. They drafted him 8th overall for a reason.
No, I get that. I get that, but yeah, that NFC South is going to be interesting. Both the Tampa Bay and Atlanta have fairly soft schedules. The one thing about Tampa Bay, they have to go to the Chargers next week, so could be a tough one there. But anyways, that'll be a fun one to watch. I still say he starts Monday Night Football Week 15. We'll see.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Agree to disagree there, partner.
All right.
We'll see what happens. All right. Should we continue? Just just do a quick look at NFL Week 14. Should we switch over to college football?
Yeah, no, we can talk. Let's talk NFL.
All right.
NFL Week 14. So, and yeah, we still got to get to our best bets, and we got college and NFL there. So, looking at Sunday slate, like Browns Steelers, I guess is interesting because it's Jameis in a divisional game, right? Like,
yeah, but the problem is the Thursday night game in the snow is so interesting.
Yeah.
That I don't know how this one is going to be able to live up to it. And it's probably like I think we're all expecting the same type of game that we saw the first go around, and usually that just doesn't happen. So
no, you're right. But looking at these noon games, that's it though, right? Like, who are some of these other? Like, what are we excited about? Are we excited about Jets Dolphins? Are we excited about Panthers Eagles?
I think it's Falcons Vikings. I think that's the game in the noon slate. That's the one that really where both teams have significant playoff implications.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think the only other game that might be interesting, and maybe only interesting to the fans of crappy football teams like myself, is Jaguars Titans. The first of 2 meetings that the Jaguars and Titans will play, where you have the Jaguars currently sitting with the number 1 pick in the draft, and the Titans are right there at 3 wins. They maybe need a franchise quarterback next year. So. But like if the Jaguars are able to win there with Mac Jones, that definitely shakes things up as far as the draft goes. But
Mac Jones sucks.
Yeah, no shit, dude. He's bad.
Alvin Kamara in for a big day against your Giants.
I keep waiting for Alvin Kamara to have like a 45-point fantasy day.
Yeah, I mean, he had 112 yards last week, just didn't get in the end zone.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like I feel like I've played Alvin Kamara more than any other player in DFS lineups this year, and he's always been solid. He'll get you 20+ points, but the problem is I keep waiting for him to score 45.
Do you realize Alvin Kamara has not scored a touchdown since October 13th?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've played him like all the time during that. He doesn't score because it's all freaking Taysom Hill every time.
Well, he's dead now. I mean,
right. So like Taysom Hill had to die for maybe Alvin Kamara to score, but they're probably just gonna give it to like I don't even know who are some of their other options that would just steal touchdowns away.
Don't forget about Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson.
Foster Moreau.
Oh God.
And is it MVS there now? Yeah, MVS.
Yeah. Because I was like thinking, I was just like, come on, Tim, name a wide receiver because Chris Olave is gone. And I was like, no, Marcus Colston. That's like 15 years ago there.
Michael Thomas from the dead.
No?
So, but the Giants are 29th in rushing defense. They don't stop.
No, the Giants are horrendous. They're a horrendous football team, and Dexter Lawrence is out for the year. Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah, so maybe this is a sneaky. I don't know, it wouldn't be sneaky, but maybe you run back Alvin Kamara one more time, and you say this is your last chance. You give them the Bengals treatment. Like this is a must perform game, Alvin Kamara. And then you
otherwise we're gonna bench you.
Yeah. I don't know. Raiders, Buccaneers. Like, are we looking at Baker just absolutely going nuclear on them, But you've got to include Bucky Irving, Rashad White now, and those guys are playing big factors. I'm just looking at it from like a DFS perspective. Like, who do I want to play here?
Yeah. By the way, Rodney, I'm looking at the Saints depth chart. So they're wide receivers right now because it was Olave and Rashid Shaheed who are both dead, right?
Yes.
And Taysom Hill's dead. So right now, besides Alvin Kamara, so they have Jamal Williams as the backup, who I feel like it's barely any play there.
Does he ever touch the ball?
I've seen him maybe like 2 or 3 times all year. So right now, MVS is wide receiver 1. Then they have Kevin Austin Jr., Cedric Wilson Jr., then also Dante Pettis and Mason Tipton. Those are their healthy wide receivers. Because Bub Means is also hurt. I remember going through a Bub Means phase like week 3 where everyone said to play Bub Means.
I forgot they brought back the corpse of Dante Pettis. Jamal Williams has 32 carries all season. 32. They played 12 games and he has 32 carries. So he gets 2.5 a game. Alvin Kamara is
that's what I said. I've seen like 2 times.
Alvin Kamara has 202 carries. So you're talking workload is quite high with Kamara.
Or is it everyone's going to be playing Kamara because they're like, oh, favorite, they're going to run the ball, blah, blah, blah. Or you know what the ultimate play is? You play Kamara, but you also play Derek Carr with him.
Yeah.
I mean, like Derek Carr is going to be like 1.5% owned in these lineups.
Or do you just fade it and go Tyrone Tracy instead?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to play any Giants at all ever.
I mean, the Saints aren't great. The Saints are 26th in rushing defense. That's not real good either. So just something to think about as you're putting your lineups together. Looking at those 305, 325 games, Bills Rams should be an interesting one. It's in LA. I think that maybe makes it a little bit tighter. Obviously, if this is in Buffalo, it's probably not very close. Who do we got here? Jamal Williams is there, so he doesn't get fined. You're so right, Dan. He's just there, so he doesn't get fined. He's just showing up. He's collecting his paycheck. Coach, you want to give me the ball twice? I'll take it. Get 4 yards each.
So these 3:00 games, we're once again for another week having a group of 3:00 games that to me are way more interesting than any of the noon games. Yeah. You have Seahawks Cardinals, big division implications. Bears 49ers, first game with the Thomas Brown at head coach. How did the 49ers respond after McCaffrey goes down? And then Bills Rams is another like really, really solid game. So
speaking of that, did you see Thomas Brown mention he has lost 14 pounds since taking over the OC role?
Yeah.
He just forgets to eat. Like, okay, I can't forget to eat. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't forget.
I forget to eat. I relate.
I cannot relate. I don't miss meals, my man. I do not miss meals. And that's why after I'm done here, I got to go to the treadmill. But like, I can't miss a meal. Like, I would not function very well without my meal. So kudos to you, Thomas Brown. And I hope the guy does well. I hope he does well. But he's not going to get that head job. It's Chicago. He's not getting a head job.
Well, I was floating the idea yesterday of what happens if the Bears like end the year really solid and everyone's all rallying around him and he has a bunch of locker room support. It would be very on brand for the Bears to just keep him. He didn't even open the year as the offensive coordinator. He was an offensive assistant.
Yeah.
He's just thrusted into the head coach role. They go on a meaningless run at the end of the game. Caleb's like, yeah, I love Thomas. He's great because Caleb's playing better. So they're like, well, obviously that has to do with Thomas Brown. So then they keep him, but then they like keep him instead of trying to go after, Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson or whoever else. So many of the other candidates that I think Bears fans were hoping for this whole time. Like that to me is how the Bears will handle this.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's crazy too, because if they do get hot, like they would go off on this incredible run against four playoff teams after this 49ers game because they got the Vikings, the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Packers. Yeah. I mean, not only would they finish strong, get all those momentum, but it'd be like, oh my God, now we're the Super Bowl favorites next year. And Thomas Brown would all of a sudden be Coach of the Year favorite starting next year.
Yeah, like absolutely. That I think is more likely than anything if you think about the Bears. And then Thomas Brown gets the full-time role, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, why is he the head coach again? And then it's
Yeah,
just
it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the Bears do. And San Francisco could be an interesting one.
all right. Can I make a declaration?
Sure.
So the two primetime games that we have to wrap up Week 14, we have Chargers Chiefs Sunday night. It's a good game. I'm surprised that they put the Chiefs in prime time again.
Yeah.
And then I will say that there's no game that I'm looking forward to less in the entire NFL slate than Bengals Cowboys.
Yeah.
One, because I can't watch the Cowboys. Two, because watching the Bengals defense get exposed just makes me hurt. And three, because we're going to have ads for the Simpsons broadcast shoved down our throats.
Yeah, well, you're lucky you don't have to watch it because you've got other plans that night. So
Yeah,
kudos to
thank
that.
God.
Your
Thank God, man.
If you didn't listen Tuesday show, Monday is Tim's anniversary. He can avoid Bengals Cowboys altogether,
and I will gladly.
I probably won't get a whole lot of chance to watch. I'll be in normal until probably I'll be home mid game maybe. But Bengals Cowboys is yes one of the grossest games on the slate all year. You're right, because Cooper Rush will literally look like Brett Favre, Brett Favre in this game. He is going to carve the Dallas defense up. Dallas is going to score 38 points and win 38-35 over the Bengals.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is going to have 5 touchdown passes, throw for 450 yards. Jamar Chase is going to have 225 yards, 3 of those touchdowns. And the Cowboys are going to win. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, we talked about Tuesday, have to come to a point where you got to consider Zach Taylor being fired.
Yeah. No, listen, man, like if they lose 10 plus games this year, which that's what it's trending toward right now, like
got to go.
Some's got to change. Yeah. Now, yeah, well, they missed the playoffs last year too, but granted, they had the Joe Burrow injury excuse built in, but now, with the franchise quarterback and with some of the players on that roster, like you should have been better. Like you should have been better, dude. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just the defensive coordinator goes and they give Zach Taylor one more chance and he just goes into the year on a hot seat. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I could see him being the surprise firing on Black Monday.
Yeah, same. And I don't know as if people have the argument against it again if they lose double-digit games.
Mm-hmm. All right, real quick, college football weekend. We talked a lot of college football on Tuesday's show. In case you missed that, you can always go back and listen. But all right, I tried to find some type of like playoff predictor where I put in who I think is going to win each game. And they just like spit out like, all right, this is the bracket. I couldn't really find it. One that was like actually good. So I don't know. We might just have to like guesstimate here. But so what is your absolute like this? So of all of like the big college football conference championships this weekend, what is your big lock? Like take it to the bank. This team is winning. No doubt about it. They're advancing. So we could start there.
That's a great question. I think Clemson beats SMU. We're going to get to our best bets. Spoiler alert, I'm going to take Clemson in this one. I think Clemson beats SMU. I'm not convinced on SMU. I know they're 8th in the country or whatever they are in the brackets, but I'm taking Clemson and their experience and their coaching that has been there. Although I can't stand Dabo, I think Clemson wins that ACC championship tomorrow night. Where is that? In Charlotte. So I'm gonna my lock is gonna be the Clemson Tigers.
So Clemson then do they? I mean, not at 3 losses, they wouldn't advance to a top 4 seed, would they?
They're not a top.
Well, they'd
4
be
seed,
in.
No.
They're
in,
but yeah.
But the question then becomes, and this is where the biggest circus comes in. If you take a 2-loss SMU team, because the committee has already told you that 2-loss SMU is well ahead, or 1-loss SMU is well ahead of Alabama and well ahead of Miami. Now they have 2 losses. and let's
Mm-hmm.
say it's even a close loss,
Mm-hmm.
that's where it comes in. Does SMU slide below Alabama?
Who's sitting at home doing nothing to actually improve their
Yeah. Whereas SMU actually has to play this game. And that's where, if you're SMU, this morning you wake up and say, you know what, Clemson? We're not playing that game. You guys are the ACC champions. And we're gonna take our resume of one real loss and say, committee, now you got to put us in. We've won 9 in a row. We're not willing to lose to Clemson tomorrow because we know what could happen. You could leave us out of this tournament. We're not doing it. Clemson, you go. We'll be the 12 seed or 11 seed, whatever. It's not crazy.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I've had the same thought this week of these teams that are thrown into the conference championship that have to win, like that have to win this game. Otherwise, they drop like 12 spots.
Mm-hmm.
And teams that are sitting at home with worse records, with worse resumes, doing nothing, overtake them.
Yeah.
Why is it that these teams are like, wait a minute, there's no like upside here for us. Yeah. This is either like, oh, we survive by playing another football game where, you know, we risk injuries, we risk all this stuff just to get into a playoff that we probably would already get into if we just sat at home and did nothing like those other teams.
Yeah, and I want to mention I'm kind of backtracking here because I started this segment by saying Clemson was going to beat SMU. I wasn't completely sold on SMU, but I want people to realize SMU has one loss, and that was a 3-point loss to BYU, who is pretty good, right?
It was in the mix to play in the Big 12 championship. Yes,
correct. A pretty good BYU team. Now, granted, that game was at home, so a little bit worse loss than going out to Provo and losing, but one loss by 3 points to a team in the mix. So they belong in the college football playoff. They belong anywhere in the top 12. But if they lose that game, they have potential to fall out, and that's not right. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to see this chaos. And I know it's what college football and college football fans really kind of want. If you're not a SMU or Clemson fan, you want the chaos, but I think it's going to happen. So I'm going to take Clemson to beat SMU.
And then any other strong leans, because like the fun thing about this week is that there's no real like obvious favorite. Boise State is a 4-point favorite. That's and it's a home game too. That's probably the biggest one because then you have Arizona State as a 1.5-point favorite. You have Texas 3-point favorite, but it's a game in Atlanta. You have SMU is a 2.5-point favorite. Oregon, who you kind of alluded to, like in Penn State a little bit in that game. Oregon is a 3.5-point favorite in Indy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these games that are up for grabs here. So there's no real huge shocking upsets that we might see.
I mean, I think my second best choice would be Boise tonight. And again, I'm going to get to it. My best bets for betting. Although a game that doesn't impact the college football playoff tonight, I like Tulane quite a bit to beat up on Army. Tulane's -5 against Army in that game. That's at West Point. I know it's at West Point, but I'm going to take Tulane also tonight with Boise State. I just like Tulane's passing game, and I think you start figuring out Army after a while. I know they've got their dudes back. I know they can run the football, but they haven't been the same since they did take that first loss and they lost their quarterback for a game or two. Notre Dame really exposed them. So I would take Tulane tonight. I know that one is not a college football playoff implication, but Tulane was right there as well with 3 losses until they got that third loss. They were in the mix.
Is Army the best team that has a 0% chance to make the playoff?
Yeah, with one loss, and their one loss was to Notre Dame. Now, granted, it was a complete blowout. They gave up 49 points to the Irish. But looking ahead so when we get the schedule on Sunday, looking ahead, what I really want to see is I want to see where Alabama goes, because I know what ticket prices are in South Bend for big games, and Alabama out at Notre Dame would be probably one of the biggest games that South Bend hosts, and they've hosted a lot of good games. Mm-hmm. That would be crazy. Alabama at Notre Dame would be a crazy one.
That would be fun.
It would
Look
be
forward
fun.
to that.
It would be
All
fun.
right, shall we wrap up with some best bets then? We've alluded to these bets. They are supposedly our best bets. Rodney right now is sitting at 29, 20, and 2. Pretty good. I'm sitting at 18, 32, and 1. I had a tough stretch earlier in the year. Let's call it that. But let's get to it now. So we'll start with you, Rodney. Your first best bet for betting, and it is a Friday night special. You like to do these little Friday night games, just a little small taste of what's to come.
Yeah, no, it gets you going on the weekend. There is some football tonight. There's been football on Friday nights all year. I love that. I think that they've done a good job of adding games to the schedule. I know the Big Ten played a lot of Friday night games. This one is in that Mountain West Championship. Boise won the first matchup by 5. It was a close game. I do like this UNLV team, but I'm taking my guy, Ashton Gente, who says he is going to the NFL after this. Shocker. But I will take him. I will take him and them on -4 tonight. The Broncos -4 at home against the Running Rebels.
All right, my first of 2 money line picks. I bet on Texas against Georgia in their first meeting in Austin. It did not look well. This time they're meeting. It's not a home game for Georgia, but it's home-ish in Atlanta. Something about that game with Texas just made me feel like they weren't quite up to snuff. So I'm going to take Georgia. Just, I don't know. I thought about Georgia 2.5, but at some point it's just like, all right, if I'm betting the spread that close, I might as well just take them to win straight up because I think Georgia will win straight up. So I'm going to take Georgia.
So let me just spend a second with Aaron's comment down there.
Yeah.
That is cute behind you over
Thank
your
you.
your shoulder.
Yeah.
I love Chicago.
With the flowers and the books and stuff.
It's
you
cute.
Kind of see some.
I prefer my brick wall in my alley, but it's kind of cold out here. Anyways,
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron, for chiming in. And if you have any college picks, because I know you're a college football guy, feel free to join us.
I do love Chicago, by the way. It's a lovely city with just the best sports teams. All of the teams are so good.
And their head coaches are all getting fired. Billy Donovan is now the well, he has been for a bit, but he's the elder statesman of Chicago head coaches.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's an insane stat.
Clemson Tigers are my next pick. They are 2-point dogs. I just like their experience, their coaching, their know-how to win big games. I know most of these players have not necessarily been in that situation, but the coaching staff has. As much as I can't stand Dabo, I do think he has his team ready to win this game in Charlotte, which would be an advantage to Clemson over the boys from Dallas, SMU. I'm going to take Clemson. And it would be so Clemson-like to have 3 losses and still get in the college football playoff. Clemson, Alabama, 3 losses, both get in. No shock. I'll take the Tigers. I have them at +2 here. I'm going to go ahead and say I'll take them at +115 on the money line. I'll take the Tigers.
Wherever did you get that idea, Rodney? Because I too taking the Clemson Tigers. Maybe I'm just falling in love with the name Clemson over SMU. Of course, they're going to be the SMU, but I don't know. Clemson's played some really good competitive football. This is a team, Rodney, that we, and more specifically you, in our first segment of Gas or Ass, I think this was our first show ever. We did Gas or Ass, and you declared loudly that Dabo and the Clemson Tigers were ass. And now we're both taking them to win the ACC, get into the playoff. Isn't that fun?
I mean, let's be honest. Clemson is coming off a loss, too. So they may still be ass. But they're gas enough to win the ACC championship.
And then ass enough to lose soon after.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. System is the system, but it would give them a win over. Yeah, I mean, the whole system is the system, but it would give them a win over ACC champ. So you're talking about Clemson Tigers over the SMU Mustangs, who did win the ACC. Yeah, it is what it is. You can't change the college football system in the middle of it. It is what it is. All right, number 3.
Why not? Why do we feel like we are just subject to rule? Like if we all sat at a table and be like, wait a minute, so this rule's kind of dumb. Do we all agree we should change it? Like, yeah, sounds good, pretty good. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
I'm going to move to the National Football League, the big boys, the pros, and I'm going to go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are done for. They're toast. They're cooked. They don't care. They're not playing for much. and my boy Baker is at home in Tampa, which I'll be there in. I'll be in Tampa in 13 days, by the way. Just a little FYI. Raiders don't even care to win. They've lost 8 in a row. They tried to beat the Chiefs. I'm not sure why, but Tampa Bay wins and wins easily. I'll take the Buccaneers minus 6.5.
They had 2 games this year that were one possession games against the Chiefs. They've had look at the Raiders here. One possession losses to the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Chiefs tried. Okay, yeah, I thought it was more. I don't know why I thought that they were closer in more games. But the Broncos won. I think they were hanging first half, but then they ended up losing by 10. Yeah. They lost by 14 points to the Panthers.
I mean, the thing I can attribute to that too is obviously the 2 Chiefs games are divisional games, and then when Vegas plays LA, like you can't lay down that one. It's a rival-ish league game. So this is not a game that I think the Raiders are going to care about. They got to go all the way to Tampa. It's West Coast at East Coast. No thanks. I'll take Tampa Bay.
Hey, remember when the Raiders beat the Ravens in Baltimore?
Yes.
How?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. My third best bet for betting. I love these NFC West rivalry games. They're just so unpredictable. Yeah, I know. Rodney Seahawks. He loves the Seahawks. Did not go well for the Cardinals the first go around in Seattle, 16-6. That was a game that had like an over-under of 52.5 points, and it ended up with 22 total points. Awful game. But we're back a couple weeks later in Arizona. Cardinals get their revenge. They win outright. They cover, win by 3+. Give me the Cardinals. Let's make the NFC West interesting again.
And my last one will be Tua and the Dolphins over the Jets because I've done really well betting against the Jets. In fact, I believe you mentioned it before the show. I think I am over betting on or against the Jets. Every bet I've made with the Jets, I've been wrong, so I might as well continue here. But I just don't see an opportunity for the Jets to cover in this one. I like the Dolphins at home. I think they feel like they still have a chance to reach the playoffs at 5-7 in the AFC. They would obviously have to beat the Jets. They'd have to go to Houston and win next week. One at a time, I think they can beat the Jets at home by 6 or more. I'll take the Dolphins at home.
My fourth and final best bet for betting. We mentioned, I think it was Dan earlier, mentioned that the Bills are due for a clunker game. I don't necessarily know if this will be a clunker, but there's a couple reasons why I think the Rams keep this close. Number one, the Bills are coming off of a game that they clinched the AFC East. Probably a little bit of a weight off their shoulders, probably some celebrating. Next week, they have a very tough game in Detroit against the Lions. So they're right in that in-between of like coming off of a clinching division just before arguably their biggest potential Super Bowl preview game of the season. Now it wasn't their biggest because I think the game against Kansas City was more important, but it's still going to be a huge game for them against Detroit. So here now they got to go to LA to face a Rams team that's 6-6, that's desperate for a win, that has a great coach. I think we would all take McVay over McDermott in the coaching battle. Rams are getting a little bit healthier than they were earlier in the year. To me, this feels like if the Rams are going to surprise some people, kind of like we fear they might, this is a game that they would win. I'll take them to cover because I like the number at 3.5, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams went outright.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that pick. I don't mind that pick being in LA. Josh Allen just seems like a man on a mission, though.
He's good, man. Listen, I declared him the MVP winner a couple weeks ago. I still believe that. I think that the race is over. But I could see the Rams giving them a real challenge and making Buffalo sweat a little bit. Buffalo's very good. They're not unbeatable.
Yeah. There you go. That's our best bets for betting. Week
I love
14.
It. All right.
So I'm going to get the Barry Bonds stat of the day today. There are a whole bunch of them. We've done a bunch of them, but I'm going to go pretty simple here, and it's going to be a 2-parter. The first one, and I don't think we've talked this one before, so if we have, somebody can stop me and say, "Hey guys, you've done this one before." But we talked about all of his power and his doubles and stolen bases and stuff like that. But this one's going to be how many times we talked about walks before, but I'm going to come back to it. Barry Bonds walked 18 straight games He had a walk in 18 straight games. That's impressive. You got guys now that barely walk 18 times all season. I mean, I that might be a little bit of a stretch, but like dudes just don't walk very often. They love to swing the bat. They love to swing and miss. 18 straight games and 6 straight games he had an intentional walk, which means 6 straight times the other team was scared shitless of him, no matter what the situation was. We've talked about him being walked intentionally with bases loaded. We've talked all the opportunities they've had to walk him. 18 straight games with a walk, 6 straight with intentional walk. That seems kind of mind-blowing to me, especially with the era of baseball we're in now. I get it. It was a totally different era 30 years ago, but 18 straight games with a walk, 6 intentionally, that's your Barry Bonds stat of the day.
I thought you were going to do the other stat that we discussed pre-show. This was a good stat still.
I can't do the pre-show one. I'm unlike you, don't want to be deflammatory towards a professional athlete. So I'll leave that one for you. Although
if it's true information, then I don't know.
I'll just leave that one alone.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, defend yourself.
What's Janoris Jenkins doing these days?
I tell you what Janoris Jenkins' brother's doing.
Yeah, dude, I know that.
I'm assuming. Is he? Did he get arrested? I don't even know. As we recklessly speculate there. All right, and this is. So normally we wrap up the show with the Barry Bonds stat of the day, but I've noticed that the last couple shows, like in honor of the episode number of this is, we like rattle off some athletes with that number. We've done it with 24, 25, 26, 27. Who are some of the best number 28s? I pulled up a great list from ranker.com. It is just a terrible website that I feel like is making my computer crash. It is just sending viruses to it left and right. I have Adrian Peterson.
Yep.
I have Marshall Falk.
Yep.
I have Buster Posey.
Yep.
I have your boy, Nolan Arenado.
Yep.
And then I see Curtis Martin. Seems like it's a pretty good running back number.
So
28.
Current players, I believe Joker wears 28. Yes?
Or is he? I thought he was. I thought he was like 17 or so. No, what?
Okay,
this is bad when the best player in the world, you don't know what. He's 15. He's 15.
Yeah, but I believe he started at 28.
Did he? Just like his rookie number?
I believe he did. I believe he started at number 28. Yes, he debuted. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to take a look. I
don't see this. What?
Ranker is the same website I used last week when it told me that Big Papi was 27.
Yeah, I'm looking at Nikola Jokic's rookie card, and he's definitely wearing number 15.
Then why does this tell me some famous athletes who have worn the number 28 include Nikola Jokic, a basketball player who was the 2023 NBA champions and finals MVP. So you're telling me AI is wrong here?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe it's his national number. He still wears 15 in Serbia. Yeah, that website is all sorts of messed up because like the number 128 there was Cristiano Ronaldo, and I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Cristiano Ronaldo famously was number 7. Like, no. I don't understand the rationale. So like, I know for sure that Adrian Peterson and Marshall Falk were right, and Arenado and Posey, but like, their basketball numbers are all messed up. Like, I don't know.
Darren Woodson, 28.
Well, the only reason I think yes is because they actually had a picture of him wearing 28 with the Cowboys. That's the only reason.
So ban ranker.com. We need to ban ranker.com.
This is an awful site. Like, I'm not kidding. The reception that I had for this video like was super glitchy right when I opened that site. I closed it out immediately better. It is an awful website with just bad information. And I don't care. I don't care if they come after us for that. A terrible website. Holy crap.
See a ranker.com. Boy, let me just go on record. They are not going to be able to be one of our sponsors in 2025. We are looking for sponsors as we move to 2025. Information will be coming out soon on that, but it will not be you, Ranker.com, because your website sucks.
Stay the hell away from us, Ranker. Stay the hell away.
We will never get Pat McAfee if we keep using Ranker.com. That's fake news. Fake news.
Yeah, I gotta do some research before the show to put up these athlete numbers. Not just go while we're live to have to pull up Ranker and my computer crash because of a horrible virus.
Yeah, I gotta click out of it too now. All right, see you Ranker.com. All right, so that's our show for today. What do we have? We have 3 left before the new year. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We have next Tuesday, next Friday, and the following Tuesday, and that'll wrap up 2024. So we'll get to episode 31.
Yeah, we will.
Before we get to 2025.
I'm sure there's many, but I can't think of a single number 31.
Yeah, let me check Ranker.com real quick and I'll get back to you.
All right, yeah, do that, and then by the time it all loads and stuff, it should be right in time for episode 31 of our show.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for episode number 28, the Marshall Falk edition of the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth, not the Nikola Jokic edition.
Nope.
Not the Cristiano Ronaldo edition.
Nope.
Not going to happen. But we'll be back on Tuesday. This will be after a wild college football playoff. So will the playoff be announced by Tuesday?
Yeah, Sunday at noon.
Sunday. Okay, awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to react to that. We'll have all the NFL stuff to go over. We'll recap our best bets for betting. So Tuesday will be a loaded show. I'm excited.
So yes, and what I want to do Sunday or Tuesday is I am going to put together NIT of college football playoff.
Ooh.
So not only are we going to talk the real games, I'm going to put a 12-team NIT bracket together as well. If there was, why not? There should be a college football playoff and then like an NIT version of it. Because we know people are going to watch and pay for these college football games. You could do it at like some of these small schools, or you could do it on campuses, but like people are going to go and watch. Anyways, I'll have the NIT version of college football playoff.
Yeah. So who has the broadcasting rights for the playoff? I'm assuming it's like ESPN, ABC, and then maybe Turner gets a game, or they will at some point here. So create an NIT, more games, put them on Fox, like all the Fox networks or whatever. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that's what you and I can start that starting next season.
As long as Ranker stays away.
Yeah. Sponsored by Ranker.com.
Oh God. All right. Well, that does it for the show. Thanks to everyone who participated. Thanks to all of our commenters. We'll be back Tuesday with another great show, the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth.
See ya.
All right. See you guys. Step right up, dummies, and listen to the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth with Rodney Newbold and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah.